Okay, guys, so basically just an update because I think this just came out and this might be something that really helps you. So, just to kind of recap generally, when you're thinking about starting investing and kind of lifting yourself out of the current financial situation that you're in, uh, I believe that, I mean, there's other things at play: school loans, debt, if mom and dad are sick or whatever. There's other things at play, but generally speaking, you can think about three major things, and that is number one, maximizing how much you make, right? You can do that either by taking the best paid career or job that you can find immediately. Maybe that's something like bartending where you make tips, or sales that doesn't usually require an extensive education, but you can make a lot on commission. Or or depending on your goals and interests, it might require something like going to school. Keep in mind though that if you go to school, generally speaking, you might have some debt and some unforeseen things. So it kind of just depends on your personal situation. If you have any kind of a safety net, some of you are only children and you know that eventually you're going to inherit your childhood house that your parents possibly still live in. So something like going to school isn't such a big thing because eventually you're never going to have to buy a house because you'll just live in your childhood house. Little things like that can make the difference. And I mean, this is speaking very generally, but other people rent, their parents rent, they have no home that's paid off. And they're very strapped, and there will be nothing once mom and dad are gone to fall back on. It may be the right move to go for a high-paying career that takes extensive education, and you feel confident that you can do it and get rid of the debt from school loans or pay for school out of pocket. Or if you're really strapped, it may be wise not to do that and just stay away from debt altogether and just work as hard as you can to dig yourself out. It just depends. So there's basically career choice, make as much as you can. There's spending choice, spend as little as you can. And then there is also the idea of investment choice. Fidelity just came out with an index fund, an inactive index fund that basically is their version of the S&P 500. This index fund is FNLIX. Okay, FNLIX. You can call them, ask them about it, start an account here. The reason why I am recommending them over Vanguard is for two simple reasons. They have no expense ratio and no minimum to start investing. Unlike Vanguard, with my my VTSAX that I'm in, there's an expense ratio of 0.04%, which is still nothing. It's really not a big deal, but not paying anything at all is even better than even having to pay 0.04%. So there is that. Now, aside from that, there's no minimum to invest at Fidelity with FNLIX. So, unlike Vanguard with VTSAX, I believe still they have a minimum of $3,000 that you have to have in order to invest. The way that I worked my way up to $3,000 to even get into the VTSAX is I started with the little brother, so to speak, of the VTSAX at Vanguard, called the VTI. The VTI, I can't remember the difference, but basically the VTI is the VTSAX, but it doesn't have a minimum payment on it. So what I mean is, if you have $800 or $8 or $80 or $20, whatever you have in your pocket, whatever you want to spend, you can put it in the VTI and pump that and let that grow until you get to 3,000, and then dump that 3,000 from the VTI into the VTSAX, because the VTSAX requires you to have 3,000 to invest in it. Nice thing about FNLIX right here at Fidelity is they do not require you to have any amount of money to invest in. Of course, you need something because your money needs to make money on top of itself, compounding interest, right? Which we've talked about. But you're also not going to pay an expense ratio, which For lack of a much better way of putting it, the quick and dirty answer to that is that's basically the small charge that you get charged for, little things, for being able to use their services, for security so that nobody can hack Vanguard and steal your information, for having the convenience of an app and a website, for having the convenience of being able to call somebody that is an actual human being and talk to them about any questions you have, little things like that. Now, it's still over at Vanguard, basically, let me say it like this. The way I see it and the way I understand it, there's 3 tiers. You can actively pay somebody to actively manage your portfolio. That's basically the most expensive. I don't believe in that because no one human being can really predict the market. So you're paying somebody no matter what, meaning whether they do a good job for you or a bad job for you, they're taking some of your money. I don't like that. You can do inactive index funds where no one manages it for you, but there's still an expense ratio for little things like I just explained, phone support, website, security. But then there's also companies that are coming out now and waiving the expense ratio of an inactive account, inactive index funds, I should say, and not charging you anything. So FNLIX is a really good example of maximizing your investment opportunity. If you don't have much to begin with, you need to earn as much as you can, you need to spend as little as you can, and you need to invest in the most intelligent way that you can. And now here we are in mid-September of 2020. Fidelity comes out with this index fund, large cap index fund, that has no expense ratio, and so they're not going to charge you to use it every year, and there is no buy-in cap, meaning it's sort of similar to purchasing whatever, a computer or a meal. So if you don't have $100, you can't buy this meal. Well, if you don't have $3,000, you can't buy into these index funds. Fidelity says no. You don't need 3,000, you don't need 1,000, you don't need, anything. I mean, just invest $50 in. There's no cap that is a gatekeeper that keeps you out of this index fund. So it's great. There's absolutely no reason not to. There's no reason not to. You don't have to be scared of expense ratios anymore because they don't exist here. And you don't have to be afraid of, well, you need $3,000 to play this game and buy in. No, you don't. Not anymore. So why is Fidelity doing this over Vanguard, and why maybe go with Fidelity over Vanguard? I think probably the biggest thing is, like, Vanguard is very old school. They're known. So they have brand recognition and they have stability and people know them and they're great. It's not that Fidelity isn't known. It's not that Fidelity isn't stable. I think Fidelity is just trying to compete. So for the very, very small fee that Vanguard charges, Fidelity looked at it, I think, and more or less said, yeah, that's right. It's a very, very small fee. So why should we nickel and dime somebody when we could just pull them into our index fund, large cap index fund, FNILX, rather than lose them to Vanguard over an expense ratio of 0.04%. Just charge them nothing rather than 0.04% and have them come over here with us and get rid of the gatekeeper of, like, you must have $3,000 in order to start investing. Tell them we won't charge you anything, so there's no expense ratio. And not only will we not charge you anything, but you can put into your account and begin earning money on it as much or as little as you want. You don't need $3,000. You could put $1,000 in. You could put $2,000 in. You could put $50 in, whatever you like. So that's just the game they're playing. And of course, I think they're hoping that in the long run, maybe you have a need for other financial services. So keep that in mind, guys, but that's something that's really nice from Fidelity. If money is super, super, super tight, this would probably be the option that I would go for, and I still might even go for it. But this just didn't exist at the time that I started investing, and Vanguard was the best call at that time, so that's what I went for. So for those of you who haven't started anything yet, this might be a pretty darn good thing to go for, guys. I definitely recommend it. But as usual, I am not a financial advisor. I do not have a degree in finance or anything. I just am a hobbyist, a very serious hobbyist when it comes to making my money make money through compounding interest and the best way to do that. So just consider me a friend that's giving you advice. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.